Damn it. Deadpool and Wolverine is the newest film from Marvel Studios and Disney, the MCU. You already know what I'm talking about. Directed by Shawn Levy. Starring the likes of Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, Emma Corrin, just to name a few. Look, I don't even know where to start with this. This was one of my most anticipated movies of the entire year. I loved the trailers. I loved the original two Deadpools. I love everything about what this film could have been. But I left with a sour taste in my mouth and a lot more questions than answers. Welcome back into another episode of We Need to Talk About Deadpool and Wolverine. And that's what we're talking about today. Before I get into my full review, if you like what you see, if you enjoyed the videos, please make sure you take a second to hit that subscribe button. It really does mean the absolute world, seriously. It's absolutely free. It costs you absolutely nothing. And it puts a smile on my face. So I really do enjoy it. I appreciate it. And thank you so much for clicking that subscribe button if you feel so inclined. Okay. Deadpool and Wolverine. Like I already said, I am a fan of the first two Deadpool movies. I am a fan, as a whole, of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Endgame and Infinity War are two of my favorite films of all time. And I was really, 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 really looking forward to this movie. I was. It was one of my most anticipated of the year. You're bringing back Hugh Jackman. You've got the Fox movies kind of going out the window. How are they going to play with that? How are you gonna bring Deadpool and Wolverine into the MCU after the acquisition from Fox to Disney? Like, there's a lot of questions, and I was very interested to see how they were going to execute. And God, at the end of the day, I just don't know. I left feeling absolutely exhausted, baffled, and having no idea kind of what I gained from watching this movie. I'm going to start with the goods, then I'll get into my issues. I'm going to do this right now, and then after that, it's no holds bar. I'm giving a spoiler warning. I try to keep these reviews as spoiler-free as possible, but I might slip up here or there, and I don't want to do that, and I don't want to throw anyone off. So just in case you have not seen Deadpool and Wolverine, I'm going to give a big spoiler warning right now, just in case I slip up and give out a spoiler. So there you go. After you watch the movie, come back and watch the rest of the review. All right, let's get into the good first, because I don't want to just shit on this movie, because in the end, I gave it an 83 out of 100. That's not a bad score by any means. If you do it on a school rating system, it's a B-. Not a bad score whatsoever. I would have been happy to get an 83 on a test. But for what this movie could have been, that is very disappointing. Like, this has got to be one of my biggest disappointments of the year, just due to what had been hyped up, what had been said, what I had read on Twitter, all these things, and I've got thoughts on all of that at the end of the video. So stick around for that, because I have some thoughts. But let's talk about the good. I want to talk about the good. First things first. Hugh Jackman is great in this movie. I just want to get that out of the way. He is probably my favorite part of the movie. He gives a really great performance in this movie. He is really the ultimate source of emotion that you get from this movie. This movie does feel a little bit emotionless at times, but Hugh anchors it enough to where it was convincing. I think Emma Corrin is also good in this movie as well, although I think her villain and her character was botched mightily. I will get into that in my negatives. So those two performances in particular I really liked. Also, Matthew Macfadyen. I love him. I think he's fantastic. He was good in this as well. With the limited screen time he had, I thought he did good. So that's that. I know you're probably asking, Jack, what about Ryan Reynolds? We'll get to him later, and that's not a good sign. Those three performances in particular stood out to me the most. Those were the ones that I really liked. And again, Hugh Jackman in particular, we already know what he can do in terms of just acting in general. He is the emotional backbone of this movie. He really is. You think it's Deadpool, but it's not. Or at least they tried to make it, and they failed. I'll get into that in my negatives later. I know I keep saying I'm going to get to my negatives, because this is think of this movie like Swiss cheese. There are really good parts. There's good parts, but then there's a lot of holes that intersect with those good parts. So those three performances in particular were high points for me. I thought they were all really good. I really liked them. I think a few of them were written very poorly, and that's not bad on them. That's bad on the writing. So those three are really good. Pacing, I'll give a thumbs up. It did not overstay its welcome. This movie clocks in at 2 hours and 8 minutes. Quick, concise, got to the point, good, great, awesome. Thank God this was not 2 hours and 45 minutes. Probably would have lost my shit. You can tell that there is a quality jump between Deadpool 2 and this. Of course, you are being brought in this is a Marvel Studios production. This is a Disney production. You can tell that there is an uptick in quality. And everyone's going to say, but Jack, the trailers, the CGI looks bad. Guys, trailers are not a finished product. They never have been. I don't know why we are putting so much effort into like dissecting every ounce of a trailer and saying if the visual effects are good or not. Like, it's not the finished product. The finished product, I think, looks pretty good. In my opinion, I think they did a good job, and I'll give them credit for that. It's not these bland movies that we've seen in the MCU as of late, and it's not these motionless side streets that have absolutely no one in there, kind of like Flash Thompson in Spider-Man: Far From Home or No Way Home, one of those movies. It's good, like it works. It works, and the technical here is good. I have no issues with it. You can tell that there is a quality jump here, and you can tell that it does have the Marvel Studios touch. The good touch, not the bad one. So that was all good. The story, I think as a whole, works. There are issues throughout that don't. But I think the core of the story, where Wade is trying to save his timeline, and he has to team up with a Wolverine that has there's no attachment to that timeline and none of that. And it really, Wolverine's my favorite part of this movie. Hugh Jackman's performance, how Wolverine's written, like that's all my favorite part of this movie. Watching Wolverine's character arc is my favorite part of this movie. And I think that was executed the best. You could tell that Hugh brought a lot of passion into that. This is his role. This is his character that he loves. He brought the emotion, and I think the writing also for his character was really good. I really liked that part. I do think that there was a lot of formulaicness in this writing, and I think that some of it works. Some of the jokes do land. There are jokes that do land, but I do have issues with the overall writing of this movie in terms of like the dialogue and how that's all executed. But like I've already said, I'm going to sound like Brooke Rager. We'll get to that in a little bit. We'll give them credit for this. The soundtrack is great. The opening title sequence needle drop is one of the best I think I've ever seen, and that might just be my bias because I love NSYNC. So that's that, but I love that needle drop and thought it was very well executed. And a lot of the action was fun. Like, this film is not, like, bad when it comes to action. Like, the action here is good. It's everything in between that I have issues with. I think the action is shot and composed and choreographed very well. I think that was probably the best thing that Shawn Levy did in this movie, was choreographing and executing and shooting the action. That was good, so I will give credit for that. And at the end of the day, I did have fun. I did. I would be lying if I said I did not have fun at some aspects in this movie. I did. And I do think that the runtime helps with that. But there are a lot of issues with this movie. And I feel very, very conflicted. I walked out of the theater feeling a sense of overwhelming confusion. Did I like it? Did I not? I just didn't know, and I'm still kind of trying to grapple with that. I think at the end of the day, it's a serviceable movie. I think it's got good parts to it. But like I already said with my Swiss cheese analogy, there's a lot of good to it, but there are some gaping holes that just did not work for me. first things first with the writing. I've already talked about it a little bit. The writing is fairly formulaic. A lot of stuff was pretty, how do you say, predictable, and did not surprise me whatsoever. The cameos worked. They did. They worked for me. I thought they were cool. I didn't have any problem with the cameos. What I did have a problem with was the way that they were hyped up. And I'm going to get to that again a little bit later. That'll be my closing thought, is how this movie was hyped up. The cameos worked. I didn't have any issue with the cameos, like some people might. They worked for me. But I do need to talk about Ryan Reynolds, the massive red-suited elephant in the room. I never thought I'd ever say this either, so this is like really bad. There comes a time when the shtick gets stale. I know. I didn't think I'd ever say it either. I want to just start by saying a lot of jokes here do land, and I did laugh quite a bit. But there were moments in this movie where I'm like, Ryan, shut the hell up. Like, just stop. And I just felt like it was because, like, they're with Disney now. There had to be all of that Disney jokes, Disney self-awareness, Disney this, Disney that. And a lot of it landed, but then it kept going, and it kept going, and it kept going, and it kept going, and it kept going. There was never a quiet moment in this movie. The best part of this movie is the conversation between Laura and Logan. And I think one of the reasons why is because Wade is not there. There is no random joke thrown in the middle of this emotional conversation. We actually got to let the conversation and the emotion breathe. You couldn't do that for 99% of this movie because every other second there had to be a Deadpool fourth wall break or joke that had to be thrown in there. It got exhausting to me. And that really pains me because I love the first two Deadpools. I do. I love the first two Deadpools. It just got exhausting. I was just like, Ryan, shut up. But, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. That was my big Ryan Reynolds rant. I think he's fine in this movie. He is who he is. He's great as Deadpool. He was born to play that character. It's just like that shtick got old pretty quickly. And it just did not work for me at some points in this movie. I wanted more emotion. And I think this movie did lack emotion in some way, shapes, and forms. If it was not for Hugh Jackman and Logan's arc, this movie would have been pretty devoid of emotion. Emma Corrin, you are a great actress. You are fantastic. And I'm so happy you got to join the MCU. But my God, it happened again. It happened again. Marvel has a villain problem. They do. And I've said this in videos in the past. They've got a villain problem. You bring in these really talented actors and make them villains. And then you just waste the talent. I like who this villain is, what she represents, but God, it's the same shit all over again. We're rehashing old marks. Oh, the TVA wronged you too. Where have we heard that before? Oh, someone didn't keep their end of a deal, so now I gotta go try to destroy the world. Where have we heard that before? Like, we've been here before numerous times. Like, Marvel, switch it up a little bit, please. Please. Figure it out. Please. I don't know, man. I'm conflicted with this one. I am. I don't know what to say. I'm conflicted with this one. I just don't know what to say. just hurts, man, because I was really looking forward to it. I gave my goods, I gave my bads. Those were really the biggest bads that I had. I think the writing really struggles here. There is good redeeming moments. It all falls on Hugh Jackman and Logan and the character of Wolverine. If it was not for that, this movie would not. I don't think it would be that good. The self-awareness works until it doesn't. The jokes work until they're stale. The jokes work until you're pretty devoid of emotion. And Hugh Jackman's character thankfully saves what could have been much more of a disaster. And just makes it a little bit of a disaster. A movie that I enjoyed, but had issues with. All right. To close out, I'm going to say this. I've talked about this before. I've had issues with this. I've tweeted about it. I've talked about it in videos. I've said it time and time again. My God, stop giving influencers access to these early screenings just because they have large social media followings. If they don't know about film, don't invite them. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. But seriously though, I don't want to accuse anyone of anything. If you're watching right now and you're one of these influencers and you went and you loved the movie and you thought it was the best thing you've ever seen, I'm very happy for you, okay? I am. I'm very happy for you. But my God, y'all didn't think it was better than Endgame. I'm sorry. You did, say psych. Seriously. Say psych. This movie's not better than Endgame. What Endgame did was encapsulated this huge, built-up story that was full of very emotion-rich characters with huge story arcs that spanned over a decade that led to this huge build-up that was totally worth it. That's not this. Just because there's some cameos does not make this better than Endgame. It doesn't. So stop saying it does, because it doesn't. Endgame is in a different tier. Infinity War is in a different tier than this movie. If you're watching from Disney or Marvel, I implore you, please give these spots to critics that actually this is their job and they are invested in the art form of film. Please stop giving these influencers that don't give a shit about the art form of film and they're just there to post their shorts or their selfies or whatever. If you think I'm wrong, I follow influencers that have nothing to do with film, that have gotten to go see movies early, and I'm like, you do fashion or something. What? Why are you watching this movie 2 weeks before I get to see it? And I'm gonna be honest, this is not a selfish thing about me. I've kind of put the film critic stuff behind me. I do this for fun now. I don't have a stake in the game here. I'm saying this for the other colleagues that I know that actually put in a lot of work being critics and put in work learning and studying the art form. They deserve those spots. They do. You sold the tickets. But you're gonna sell tickets anyway. If you make a good story, people are gonna go off of word of mouth. Look, Twisters, not the best movie in the world, but it's fun, action-packed, classic blockbuster action. And people are flocking to the theater based off of word of mouth. Your Marvel Studios, your Disney, you've got a track record. While it might not be great right now, there is hope for the future with the catalog that you have at your possession and with the future that you've promised. I mean, hell, your Hall H is in hours from now. And everyone is chomping at the bit to see what you're going to do next. You don't need to sell tickets. You don't need to give these spots to these influencers that are just going to say good things to sell tickets. You're going to sell tickets. I promise you're going to sell tickets. That's the stuff that makes me angry when I see that stuff. Again, disclaimer, if you went and you saw the movie and you loved it, very happy for you. I got no beef with you. I don't. But I know for a fact that there are people that went and saw that movie and thought it was just okay and are claiming it's better than Endgame. And that is just not true. It's not true. It's not true. All right, I'm done ranting about that. I think I walked into this movie thinking it was going to be something it wasn't. I think I was advertised something that it wasn't. The cameos are cool. They work. They land. But it's not this Endgame, No Way Home type experience that no one ever imagined we'd see behind really great storytelling. Like, that's not what this is. It's not. They're cool. It's a cool moment for these introductions. And seeing them all team up and fight together is cool. And I liked it. And I thought it was nice. And I had a smile on my face. And that's great. But it ain't Endgame. It's not. It's not. And let's stop fooling ourselves. It's not Endgame. All right, that's it. I've been mumbling on for over 21 minutes now, and if I keep going, I'm going to keep making myself mad. Because, again, at the end of the day, this is going to come off as an incredibly negative video towards this movie. And that's not the case. I gave it an 83 out of 100. There are things I like here. But I think I'm just soured on a lot of the things I didn't like. And a lot of the outside noise really soured me on some of this. And that's unfortunate because this was one of my most anticipated of the year. And I wanted to love it as much as Endgame, and I just didn't. That's it. I'm done. Go down below in the comments. Let me know, what did you think of Deadpool and Wolverine? And I also want to say, like, if you loved the movie, and I'm not talking to the influencers anymore. We've already had our discussion. If you're just someone watching this, and you're a fan, and you loved the movie, I'm so happy for you, and I'm glad you had a great experience watching this movie. Like, I am. I'm legitimately, if you loved this movie, great. Film is subjective. You form your own opinion. If you loved it and you think I'm wrong, let me know in the comments and we will have a discussion about it. If you hated it, let me know in the comments. We'll have a discussion. If you're like me and you're lukewarm on it, let me know in the comments. Let's have a discussion about it. Don't be mean. Let's have a fruitful, professional, adult conversation in the comments. Follow me on social media. You're going to get all my reviews over there. First and quick. And again, subscribe if you haven't already. I just got home. I'm hashing it out with you guys. I'm airing out the beef. I'm airing out all my thoughts right here into the camera and giving it to you guys so we can have a conversation together. That's what this series is at the end of the day. It's me coming home from the theater, hashing out my thoughts, telling you what I liked, telling you what I didn't like, and then I want to go in the comments and continue the conversation. So do that. Go in the comments. Let's continue the conversation. Follow me on social media. Make sure you subscribe. Like, comment, subscribe. Do all the things you do on YouTube. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I hope you all don't think that this was me just shitting on Deadpool and Wolverine, because in the end, there's a lot I like about it, but there are things I'm sour about at the end of the day. That's pretty much it. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next video. We'll see you later.